All right, back with you on the Newsfeed PM. Thanks for staying on. As I mentioned before the break, an end of an era is upon us as curtains draw on the popular Tshivenda soapie Muvhango after 28 years on air. The final episode of the much-loved soapie will air on the 11th of August. Here to reflect on the soapie's journey, I'm joined by one of the lead actors, Gabriel Temudzani, also known as King Azwindini. Gabriel, good to have you, man. Are you all right?
Good afternoon to you and the viewers back at home.
Yeah. It's... Firstly, I mean, a shocker to the system, I suppose, for many that it is an end of this era of 28 years. But when it began 28 years ago, it was groundbreaking in that we were speaking of, for the first time, a soapie on television, purely done in Tshivenda. Did it manage to do what it set out to do?
Well, I think the show managed to do more than what the producers and the channel and the public broadcaster, they wanted to realize. And mind you, Tshivenda was one of the marginalized language and culture back then, which has since, been changed precisely because of the same show, the same legendary show that we're talking about. So I would say yes, and definitely so.
One of the things, I remember one of the debates that we were having, talking on the radio at some point, was taking the soap, the production itself to the province,
to the location
where the language is being spoken.
So it was breaking a number of stereotypes at the time. Imagine television being done live in Venda and the Tshivenda language being spoken on national television. And I think if my forebears had to wake up, wouldn't believe themselves. And for us as the Venda people, it was a turning point that says we are and we are qualified and we are being given an opportunity to express ourselves, to showcase our culture, our language, and the talent that we have as the South Africans and Venda people in particular. So it was groundbreaking for real. And believe you me, the show has done a lot in earthing raw talent from the outskirts of our province and the whole country as well.
Talking about unearthing talent, do you think you would be where you are today if this particular platform was not available?
So if I say no, I will be an ungrateful soul. So, and I wouldn't want to say that. And I think South Africans should be grateful that Muvhango has, unearthed talent like myself. And I take pride in knowing that I was part of that legendary show that revised a lot of stereotypes that were being punted on us as the Venda people.
What do you say as actors? I mean, when they come to you and say, guys, it's curtains?
Well, it's sad. It's sad and very painful. But at the same time, we're bowing out with pride in knowing that we have done what was necessarily needed. Why do I say this? You cast your eyes into the demographics of our country today, and you check the kind of outfit that people wear. It reflects the appreciation of the Venda culture. You listen to how people talk on the streets. People speak the language that used to be so marginalized with so much pride. The Venda people don't hide themselves anymore as they used to do back in the day. And we are duly incorporated into the Republic, and thanks to the show, once again.
The concept of Makazi to you is normal.
You get
but
what I mean?
to many people, they actually got to learn about it when they watched Muvhango.
The show Muvhango, precisely. And showcasing the Tshivenda culture was something very new. And not only that, for me, telling our own stories in our own languages, in our own narrative, it's something to be worth celebrated. And that is why I feel it's sad that a show of that stature and caliber is being taken off the platform.
It's always the conversation. It's always the debate of the value of telling the story in our own languages, in our own context, the way that we would actually say things, as opposed to translating it and saying it in English. Does it have longer legs? Does it spread wider if we do it that way?
I think what is of a paramount importance is in the how. If you do it the right way, it will carry the souls and the aspirations of our people, and they will definitely rally behind it. But once you start concocting it with other things that don't resonate or reflect who they are, then you'll find yourself running a one-man marathon on your own without them rallying behind you. And I think that's some of the things that the producers need to be cognizant of, because at times we want to produce things but for ourselves. But you need to produce things for the audience. Then you will be able to have the numbers that you need.
Yeah. What has been the most stretching part of this story for you, except, of course, your marital woes and other things that
you had to go there.
You've had to deal with.
Hey, well, there are a number of factors. How, the cultural clash, the vendors versus the Sothos fighting for the body. For us, that was very colorful, and it was reflecting the things that were happening on the ground, and they're still happening till today. How people condescend on each other culturally and otherwise, and how families fight over the deceased stuff or things whilst they were not part of that person's life at times when the person was still alive. So these are things that are happening on a daily basis. And through Muvhango, was able to address some of these things and address them so well. And that is why we managed to get relevant numbers, because people were relating, were telling stories that were relatable, and stories at times that people were not comfortable to showcase on national platforms, because back then, the advertisers and the owners of television channels would say, no, this won't sell, But our people were longing and yearning for that.
Well, was it a deliberate thing? I mean, soapies tend to do that. For example, there's an instance in another soapie where sexual orientation was handled, and it was taboo at the time, and it created a lot of conversation going on in the country. Did you manage to do that with Muvhango?
No, we did a number of things, but at the same time, you see, soapies are a long run. And for them to sustain, they should reflect and tackle some of the issues that are on the ground, including social ills, including some of the scourges that we don't want to talk about. And I think for us, what we did very well was having the first deaf character on the show. And that did very well. And back then, they will tell you that, this would never work on television. How would she relate and interact with others? And we did very well on that front. Another thing that, we did very well, if I can just, accentuate on this, is us having people who are communicating from using different languages, who are from different cultural background, and they understand each other, yet they're sitting around the table. And when we started, the producers were like, hell no, this is not going to work. How are these people understanding each other? And that's what we did. And check South Africans now. They're using the same, model to communicate with each other, and they understand each other. Yeah. And that's the diversity that we have forged as a show. And for that, we need to be celebrated and to acknowledge that.
Speaking of diversity, I mean, some of the friendships that you've carved with some of the cast members are quite solid. I mean, I know I've seen you interact with some of them outside of what you do on the soapie.
Yeah.
How valuable are those friendships?
You see, relationships are very, very pivotal. And life is well lived when you build strong and sound relationships, because you are then able to sustain each other. You are then able to support and guide each other accordingly. So, let me just say that without getting carried away.
No, because I mean, it's platforms like that in the future will see spin-offs of Gabriel Productions with some other cast members taking your careers further.
No, my brother, growth is beautiful, and the growth is good on everyone. And when we feel you are growing, all aspects of your being must be met or must reflect that. So such is part of growth, and you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it, yeah.
And when you come to this pivotal moment, 28 years on, and you're looking back at not only the growth of the soapie, but the growth of yourself as a thespian, the growth of the industry itself. We just buried Presley this past week, and there were a lot of actors there making contributions about the state of where the industry is at right now. What's your reflection?
Well, allow me to convey my deepest condolences to Presley's family, his wife and kids. May his soul rest in peace. What a phenomenal actor that this country has produced. Tapping into the state of the industry, I think we have grown to be stagnant. There was a time where the industry was booming, and we saw it when we were making, noise on international platforms and, bringing proper accolades back home. But now the television is, I say it's wobbling. And I so wish the government could intervene and formulate it in a formalized way. Then we will see the much needed growth that we need. And of course, one would also reflect on some of the things that are chowing into the industry. The invention of social media and an array of platforms that take viewers from normal or mainstream platforms like television have grown to be so purported over and over in our space. And your podcasts, lives on other, social media platforms, your Facebook, TikTok, and so on and so on. So as a result, people are moving away from mainstream platforms like television. And as a result, the advertisers are going into those platforms. That then makes this other side, get homorized.
I think I spoke to Loisa Gola about that. As well. So what do you need to do? Because you are now competing for that space.
Precisely.
Do you create your own platform in that same space, or do you still continue to want to make the conventional platforms attractive?
Our people are very simple. You just need to tell compelling stories. You just need to bring actors and run away from bringing in social influencers who cannot carry the essence and the soul of the show that you're trying to put together. Once you do that, people see what they want to see. And they will definitely rally behind a good show, believe you me.
Gabriel, reflecting on your bosses, let's speak about Duma a little bit.
How?
Put you on the spot. I mean, reflect in the 28 years working with him. Well, how has it been?
No, working with Dr. Dumagandlovu was such a blessing. We have had a good run, and he's such a phenomenal creative person. And I love and respect the passion that he has for the industry, the respect that he has for young talents, and he has created a lot of avenues to give young ones, a platform to showcase their talent, and that needs to be, uploaded in a very, very, very respectful way. And I think he's human. Yeah, he's human. We err here and there, but what matters the most is to do the job and do it in a befitting way, and he did exactly that.
Man, you did the job in a befitting way, and we wish you all the best. Thank you very much for coming on and for your reflection here.
No, thank you so much. And as we bow out, we are saying to South Africans, #Rolibua. And we are quite grateful to South Africans who have rallied behind us for the longest time, and all the viewers who have been watching us across the SADC region. Thank you so very much. Muvhango, Rolibua.
Nda.